1, 2, 3, pick it up, go!
Mankind must put an end to war. A war will put an end to mankind.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, I'm not drunk. I learned everything I got.
Go! 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 Go!
Change will not come if we wait for some other person.
All right. Hello, Internet. This is Elliot, and I'm here, as usual, with my arch nemesis, Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And,
good intro. We are great at this.
Hey, you know what? I pale in comparison to the great Mark Becker, who just launched his first episode.
Oh, look at that. You're plugging it?
Why?
Nice.
It's not a plug. It's just respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did a great job. So
absolutely.
He had our
Stausch.
He's a representative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Representative District 90. He's a Democrat.
I knew you had the numbers. Yeah.
That's because I had to write it for the show description.
Right. And you know what? They're both fantastic. So, I mean, whatever. There's things I agree or disagree with almost anybody on, but I liked the conversation. It was funny. It was super interesting, and it was candid. I thought it was good.
I'm looking forward to some of the upcoming episodes.
Yeah, I know. I won't break any confidentiality, but yeah, it sounds like it's super good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have to step our game up.
Oh, we do? I mean, I don't know that that's possible. But today, I think we're going to talk about racism.
Yeah, we literally sat down with the one word, and we're like, yeah, we're going to run with this. We can.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the topic of the week in everything.
Would you allow me to stand on a soapbox for a minute?
Do it.
Okay, so we all know this is stuff that Trump said that was racist, right? But here's the thing, and this is the thing that annoys me so much. Every time he does something racist, it's, oh no, Donald Trump is racist. This is the thing that proves he's racist. We knew he was racist years ago. Why is it every time he does something racist, the first thing is, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is racist?
Are you done?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I don't think he's racist.
You're just gonna throw that atom bomb out and just
the same as I don't believe that Nancy Pelosi really cares that much about poor people. These are political strategies that they utilize. They're talking to their base. I believe his base has some racist components to it. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think that goes without saying. And that's unfortunate, and that is a reason why I can't be a Republican. They need to disavow those people. The basket of deplorables.
But they let that racist zeitgeist take over their party. And it's not just Donald Trump. It is not Donald Trump that's the problem. He is a symptom.
I totally agree with. So there's always like we were talking before we started recording. All people have some sort of prejudices. You're prejudging people based on physical characteristics they have that have nothing to do with what is in their soul, what is in their mind, what are their beliefs. You don't know who they are based on how they look. You don't. We prejudge people all the time, and I think we all need to own that. But I don't think Donald Trump is more racist than the average politician. Let's just say that. I don't think
he's more overtly racist.
No, I don't think he is.
I think
he talks to his base. I actually don't think he meant what he said in a racist fashion, but he didn't mind it blowing up that way because it talked to his base.
He doesn't care if he's taken as racist or not.
Right.
And what he did say was racist. I'm going to stand by that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I understand the point he was trying to make.
am I racist when I say things like that? Because I say, if you want to work in a factory and we don't have any factory jobs, you can, if you don't want to learn new skills, you can jump on a boat to Shenzhen. Does that make me racist?
No, but he specifically
That's really
pointed out.
that sounds really similar to what I say.
He specifically pointed out women in Congress who are people of color and said those specific people should leave the country if they don't like it.
Well, because they're
That's
complaining
racist.
about fundamental
If you
American
said-
principles, though.
Man, all those black people who hate all the
he
problems
didn't
of
say-
the inner
but
city
he didn't
should
say
just
that.
move out of the inner city.
But he didn't say
That's
that.
racist.
And we're talking about these. There's four
The squad, they're called.
four congresswomen. I mean, what race are they? They're all different.
Yeah, they are. But that's the
So I don't know how it can be a racial thing if
He
they're
went-
all different.
He went and attacked them, saying they should go back to their home countries. When, of the four, 3 of them were born in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is a naturalized citizen who is a refugee. And you know what? I forget his name. I want to say he's a senator from Virginia or a representative. He's a man who's Italian born. He's not originally American. He was born in Italy, but then became a citizen and became a representative. And he said, if you're going to attack these ladies, why aren't you attacking me? That's pretty racist. It's because he's a white guy.
Yeah. So I think he didn't intend to attack that way.
But he did.
He did. He totally did. And now he's trying to back off of it a little bit. So the thing is, my reaction to Bernie Sanders is, you know what? If the Northern European countries are so great, why don't you go there?
Okay, that's
And that's how I initially took that, and then it like blew up.
yeah. Okay, I understand that point. And you know what? I don't think it's the worst argument. I don't think it's a good argument.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it's
no.
pretty-
He said things that are worse.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think if you and I were debating with that, I'd say that's a lame reasoning. But that's not inherently awful to say. But he took that message and he added little droplets of maybe racism to it to specifically attack certain people and get his base fired up.
Mm-hmm.
And his base is racist, regardless of what he does or says. Not everyone.
It's really tough,
It's
though,
hard to
because
generalize.
AOC is one of these 4 people, and she's
And she's American. She doesn't have a home country that's not America.
Right.
She's Puerto Rican.
she's American.
Right.
I mean, I don't even like labels. I don't like the term African American. I prefer the word American. So I go even further than that, and I think that people of both parties are like they contribute to this racism just by having these labels on people. I don't understand why we have to have labels. Why do I have to put you in a group just because you're brown? Why do I have to put do I put you in a group because you're redhead? Like I don't understand grouping people like that. And AOC is crazy. So
This guy over here has a hate boner for her.
she said, she says 1 out of 20 things makes any sense at all. Everything else is
I think she's awesome.
but everything.
I think she's done a better job than anyone in the past 2-3 decades at pointing out the stupidity and corruption in our government. And she's done a fantastic job.
she should
at
stick to that then instead of coming up with like things that are grandiose and are not planted in reality.
Well, your definition of reality is different.
She's not a
than-
scientist, so she should not be making scientific statements.
Have you fact checked the?
Green New Deal.
It's
It's
scientists.
insanity.
How did we get onto this?
It's insanity.
So
I guess I'm saying like these people, like they're new to Congress and they've been a little bit more talkative than the average new freshman to Congress.
I think that's good.
I do too.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
But they are wrong, and being called out on that
In
is
your
not a bad-
opinion, they're
and
wrong.
Trump can have his opinion too.
Of
And I
course.
think that's where he's coming from. That their policies are, you can say in my opinion, but like capitalism is a very firmly American principle. So when you're
So is slavery, and we got rid of that.
slavery is not an American principle.
Are you kidding me? Come on.
Well, we did away with that a long time ago,
Yes, and we can do away with capitalism if.
and it really wasn't
needed
a
to.
fundamental. That's not a fundamental American principle.
Here's the biggest problem here. The message of go back to your home country, regardless of if it's an inherently racist message or not, has been used by racists many times.
Right.
I mean, it's like a cornerstone of the KKK.
Yep. So here's the other
And you know what?
angle to that, though. Go ahead.
And sorry. And I think that message, like, regardless of the racism to it, that message is wrong. I think there's nothing more American than wanting to fix America and improve it. Saying that you don't approve of something or complaining about America is the most American thing you can do. Right? Using your freedom to dissent from the government.
Yeah, you know, if I ever get to the point where I'm saying, you know, these other countries are way better, I don't understand why it's not a good reaction to say,
Right.
then go there.
There's just not a libertarian paradise for you to point to because they fundamentally can't exist because it's a horrible idea. Gotcha.
Like socialism, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not a fundamentally bad idea. We actually had it for close to 200 years and it worked fine. It's the last 50 years that we've been screwing things up.
So here's the problem with what happened with this specific incident.
Yeah.
And there are dozens of others we can talk about, but honing in on it, it's what happened after that frustrates me so much. Because I don't know how much you saw this, but the House of Representatives held a vote on whether or not to, I forget the specific legal word they use, but essentially say, we do not approve of these statements in a very harsh way, right?
Yep.
And of the 187 Republicans, 4 of them voted for it.
Yeah.
4 out of 187. No. 4 to 187. So it's 4 out of, what, 191?
Sure.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Because what's his name? Amash
Yeah.
isn't a Republican anymore. He's an independent.
Right.
But he voted for it.
Right.
As did 4 Republicans.
Mhm.
Now, for a moment, I'll set aside the fact that that number is so incredibly frightening how low it is, and can give a clap for the 4 who did. It takes balls to stand up to your party like that. However, there have been times before that the Republicans have specifically told a couple of their, and I don't know if the Democrats have ever done this either, have specifically had a few of their members dissent on specific topics just so it's not unanimous.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they all think that way. Because what Donald Trump or the Republican Party, whoever you want to blame for this, has turned racism into a partisan issue. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump could literally go up on stage and say he wants to kill all the black people and use the N-word, right? And the Republicans would defend it.
I don't think so.
You don't?
I think some Republicans would.
I think all of them would.
No way.
I think we are at that point.
No way.
187 Republicans just said, no, we don't think what he already said was racist.
I think it was a poor choice of words.
It was intentional.
And you can feel that way, but he's saying it's not.
And he's lying.
Okay. I mean,
The serial liar's
okay,
lying again.
I mean, so the other piece of this is what's more fundamental in America than our politicians lofting grenades at one another? I think whatever their skin color, it needs to be thicker. Everybody needs to toughen up a little bit. Everybody needs to be a little nicer. but everybody needs to toughen up a little bit, and that's the Trump is no better, right? He's a whiner about people that insult him too. So yeah, it needs to happen all the way around. Everybody needs to step up and be a little bit more civil. But if you're fighting for an issue that you care a lot about, you should be harsh and you should fight.
I think the Democrats' problem over the past ever is that they're too civil, if anything.
That's where I'm going with that. Like, just melting down over this issue, you're taking your eye off the ball completely.
Maybe
like there are things that are people that are impacting actual people. Our debt is $23 trillion, and they want to bump it up by double. Like that. We can't do these things and have no consequences. But they're just they're avoiding the subject. They're putting their heads in the sand and crying about racism when that's really not the big thing.
I don't know about
and and that's not to say that Trump shouldn't be nicer and say nicer things and probably condemn people in his group. This is an opportunity for him to say, you know what, racism's terrible.
But
you racist people in my party, go to the other side.
But
I don't want you.
But when Donald Trump is faced with a fork in the road between taking the moral high ground or not, he always goes not. There has literally never been a time where he has not chosen not.
Like most people in Congress.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think there are people from both parties.
Yeah, there are some people who have some principles.
But yeah.
There are very few.
I think, if anything, we see just how terribly corrupt everyone in our government is.
Yeah.
Like, even the good people,
right?
Regardless of who the good people are, there's a fundamental problem that our system's been built in such a way to reward that type of activity. And you know what? I think we have in the past couple of years seen a lot of new blood, and I don't think those people carry that same outlook. I think we're seeing maybe it might be the power corrupts, right?
Right.
But I think we have seen a lot more of those people who I do think will continue to act morally. I mean, you have some great images. You've got some great people on both sides who are, really not corrupt.
I think it goes in waves, though, right?
Look at Bernie Sanders, right?
Corrupt as hell.
No.
Yeah. Really?
Bernie Sanders.
Multi-millionaire that wants to steal money from all of the other millionaires that aren't him.
I should just let you talk and just... Bernie Sanders is one of those people who truly, truly, regardless of your opinion on his thoughts, he has stayed consistent his entire life. He's been anti-corruption.
He should go back to his country. This is not the country that he belongs in.
You don't get the right to say that, though.
I get to say whatever I want.
Why do you?
Well, for one thing, I'm not a politician. He is, so I do get to say whatever I want about him.
Okay, imagine if
there's nothing more American than that.
What if it was in reverse and there was a group of
socialists saying we're going to be socialists,
picking off the wheel.
The rest of you get out of here.
Hispanics, okay. What if there was a group of Hispanic people, who said,
"Are they American?
You white people here are the corrupt ones. You should get out of the country and let us run it." Would that not raise some eyebrows?
I'm sure that does get said, and it probably does raise some eyebrows. Racism's never okay.
No.
Yeah. we can debate whether this particular thing was racist. I do think that he should slow his roll a little bit, right? But honestly,
Donald Trump will never change.
But he will not, and it's effective because he keeps the narrative on him, and it makes his supporters emboldened.
And
some of them are racist, not all of them. Most people are not racist.
When you have, well,
Most people are not racist.
see,
This
No.
discussion that
Here's
we're on
my
the
argument.
verge of a civil war over racism again is preposterous.
Here-
The average American is not racist.
Here's the
Not on
problem.
the level that we're talking about.
the Republican Party inherently is about symbolism. Okay? More than anything else. It's the party of standing for the flag and the national anthem. It's the party for
Okay.
old Americana. The party that inherently goes, remember the good old days? And that memory is of a white society.
Yeah, that whole nonsense is nonsense. So the only thing good about the past was less regulation. But people were more racist in the past. We had less technology, less automation, so our standard of living was much lower. In the 50s, everyone's standard of living was much lower. There's this fiction where everybody lived in a Leave It to Beaver house in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
which was absolute fiction and horrific.
And
It is not true. And whatever color you are.
yeah, you are absolutely right. And, that's something that's fundamentally changing the country, because who are the people who have that image? The boomers, right? They're the ones who are little kids at that time.
Yeah,
And,
yes.
kids always idealize that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a pretty good middle class household. So did you. I feel like things were fine, but things are better now than they've ever been.
I know.
And that's under Bush, Obama, Trump, whatever. America is better than it's ever
And
been.
we got these things.
That's just one example, right?
Yeah.
And you can point to all manner of things. The fact that we're doing this right now, the fact that what we're doing right now was not a thing a decade ago. These are, well, I guess it was a decade ago, but 15 years ago, let's say, right? Like these are just incredible. It's incredible. And anybody who wants to romanticize the past of either party, the Democrats romanticize the union past, where union wages and union. So there is an I'm gonna make a word up that probably doesn't even exist, but there's this indulgence in this like 1950s idea that never existed.
Yeah, no, it really didn't.
And it was sexist. It was a sexist time, racist time.
I mean,
It was-
you can point to any area and it was terrible. I mean,
Right.
look at how mental illness was treated then.
Right.
Throw
And-
you into an insane asylum and give you a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah. So the idea that we are a divided racist country and it's all the Republicans' fault. I mean, I guess it could become that. I hope that you're wrong about that. I really do hope you're wrong about
Me
that.
too.
Because I don't believe half of the country is like identifies as a racist person.
Believe me,
I just don't. I just don't.
I really hope I'm wrong on that.
I feel like I've been enough places across the country, big cities, little cities. I don't feel that most people are racist.
I think there's a sizable minority that are. And part of it is in previous decades, racism was normal, right?
But these are older people.
Yes.
Right?
So part of it, though, is
So you're saying these are baby boomers and above.
sometimes they're children.
Yeah.
If you grow up in a racist household, you tend to be racist.
I guess.
I don't have any graphs or charts to show you on that, but from my own personal experience, everyone I've met,
Didn't we all grow up in racist households though?
not to that degree.
So your grandparents
I've
were not
met-
racist? Your great grandparents weren't racist?
We don't talk about enough, but I know people who hate black people. You know people who hate black people.
Do I though?
I bet you do.
Well, apparently, if half the country, as you're trying to convince me.
No, I'm giving like 20-ish%.
So 1 out of 5 people I know is an overt racist,
Maybe not overt, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
a secret racist.
No. In the middle. part of it is racism used to be acceptable. There are people I've met or known who talk about how they used to be able to say the N-word, right? And now you can't say that anymore. And
When could you ever say that?
for decades, it was America.
It wasn't America. It was
Yeah.
not America even in the 70s. I was there.
Yeah, and the 70s are that start of a turning point, but it didn't become truly.
But that's what I'm saying. So
unacceptable
like our
to be
grandparents,
racist.
okay, so I'm older than you. So my grandparents, they were probably racist.
Yeah.
But people younger than that, like their kids, they're largely not racist. And I think that we're like even less so.
I think there is less racism over time, which is wonderful. But I think there's this.
And I'm
group
not
of
young.
people who long for that time when they used to be able to be overtly racist, and they can't be anymore. It's no longer socially acceptable.
Well, I do go back to that.
So they
I-
hate on the black people under their breath, or only to the people who are cool with it.
Well, okay, so the thing is, comedy isn't allowed to be funny anymore, right? So like that is something that I don't. If that's where you're going with that. So like, if people have to tiptoe around these issues when they're just making jokes are intentionally on the edge. Like that's what makes it a joke.
Yeah. I generally agree with you on that.
So we become so soft. So like the same thing there, like using racial slurs, using the word gringo, using the word wetback, using the
there
word.
goes our monetization.
Huh?
There goes our monetization.
What?
Oh wait, we don't get that anyways. So support us on Patreon, please.
So like using all of these racial slurs that you shouldn't, and you should be you largely embarrassed, but you know what? Saying that like even the utterance of that word, it just shuts you down. I don't know. Like I think both things need to happen. We need to be more cautious in our use of language across the board, and we also all need to have thicker skin and not overreact about stupid little things like that.
Naturally, when a culture is going through a change like that, where we've gone through a lot of change in the past 50 years. We're by and large less racist, less sexist, less hating in general. Would you agree with that? It's less acceptable than ever to hate.
Yeah, and so when I hear racism, it's the hate part, and yeah. I just don't see that.
But in that transitionary time, there are points and things where we'll stumble, where we push too far in a direction. That's going to happen. And you know what? Typically, I'm not on the side of, everything has to be so PC nowadays. Mm-hmm. But there have been times where that line's been pushed. It's impossible for it not to be pushed.
Yeah.
But
I think we just need to be balanced. So part of the reason Trump got elected and part of the reason why he's emboldened by some of these actions is because I'm going to say our side has been dragging those people along, right? You're right. And they're not ready. Like they need it to be a little baby stepped. Like they don't want to be jerks, but they're like, you know what? This is too fast.
I think at this point we're past the too much too fast to they want to bring it back to the 50s where they can be racist again. So they are past the point of going, can we take this slower? They want to revert back.
Well, I think that this is a case where doing things on the federal level creates some tension in the country that doesn't need to be there. So abortion falls into this, where we probably should have left it up to states, and things probably would have ended up fine, and where abortion was mostly legal, and maybe a couple of weird places would hold out, right? And
I don't know, man. I don't really agree with that. I think if true,
but we force it on people, and then they react. I
think there are thousands
like
of
if I
women
hold you up at gunpoint, you're going to be
who disagree with you.
I'm super pro-abortion, so I'm
right.
It's not.
I know you are.
It's not about like I don't like I.
I understand what you're saying. You're trying to say that forcing it upon will cause more backlash
Yeah.
than would have.
Well, there wouldn't be
existed.
backlash if we didn't force it upon people. If we do it state by state. The marijuana thing is a perfect example. Doing this state by state, it's a landslide. I mean, it's just rolling downhill right now.
But what about
because
all
we've-
those people who are sitting here stuck in Wisconsin that their lives could be changed so much for the better for it that are going to miss out for years? I mean, Colorado's been legal how long?
So the difference between a state doing something and a country doing something is that it's pretty hard for me to pick up and move to Canada. It's pretty easy for me to move to Michigan. So if I'm really bothered by the marijuana laws or the
It might
abortion
be
laws, I
easy
can pack
for
up and
you,
move to
but what about for the poor?
It's
the
easy.
true
They have less to move. Like if you're truly poor, like what is keeping you to an area? Like honestly,
Family,
okay.
friends,
I mean, are those
the
if
inability to move.
if those friends and family won't help
Debt.
you move, like you know what I mean? Like what are the actual barriers? Those sound like excuses. It's only it's an hour away by car. You could walk it in a day.
If you're only
Like
if you're
what is the
truly
actual
poor
barrier?
and you're surviving,
Yeah,
the last thing you'd want to do is to cut your lifelines.
sure. So you have to make those. You have to make those decisions. Is marijuana
Should
or
we-
abortion worth?
should we
giving
be
all these
forced
other things
to?
up? Yeah,
as a
yeah.
society?
I mean, we have to have laws somewhere, and I feel like it's less of a burden for it to be on a state level.
Should teenage girls be forced to hitch a ride to another state to have an embryo removed from them?
Well, I mean, in some cases they already are because the clinics aren't available. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know the answer. I probably opened Pandora's box there, but
Yeah.
But honestly, doing things on a state by state level, I think is generally better from an American perspective.
So racism, right? That's
Yeah.
what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You agree that Donald Trump inherently throws racist grenades out. It's not
He
just
throws grenades. I
But-
think he doesn't think. I think it's a combination of he has a tone, and so his critics are going to interpret his tone as being negative almost no matter what he says, and his proponents are going to applaud almost whatever he says. So he's a very divisive figure. So does he just loft racial bombs?
It's not just racism, I should say.
He lofts bombs. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not but in a way, that's what we want, and I think that's what he fears about these four people in Congress because they're the same. They loft bombs too. AOC is a Twitter addict.
Yeah.
These people
And
are.
she's good at it because the Democratic
So,
Party's been
like,
awful at
so
it.
like a terrible
decades.
word, a terrible word to use in a racist discussion, or a terrible phrase to use in a racist discussion, but it's like the pot calling the kettle black, right? Like they're the same, and I guess that's the whole thing. Like somebody like AOC needs to have thicker skin if she thinks that this is racist.
I think
the what's the other one?
general
Omar.
public
you know,
thinks it's racist.
like she's getting supported by people on her side, and like I think it's fine. But I think we're making a little bit too big a deal out of it, and people in Congress need to have thicker skin.
I don't know. I think
They really do. Come on, like people in Congress whining and the president whining. I've had enough of that.
I think we need to hold our president to a much higher standard than what we currently are, regardless
Of whining.
what he says.
Of whining, I
of
think he needs to
what
be able to
he-
accept criticism better. I think that he was elected to represent people, and I don't want to temper what a president is able to say or do. Really, well, I do want to temper what they're allowed to do. There's too much presidential power,
There is.
but as a
You
person,
see, the fundamental difference between you and I is who we think should get that power.
Congress.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess I thought you'd throw it to the states
Well,
if you could.
in certain cases, right?
Yeah.
Certain cases. But I think if the power is actually in the hands of Congress, a lot of government would be more minimal. But
Maybe. That's hard to say.
well, too late now.
Yeah, that's the one thing. We're not going back to any other system.
Yeah.
What we should be doing is focusing on making the system we have better.
Right.
And to have the leader of our country attacking people for dissenting and saying we should do things better is really disturbing.
I would have more of a problem if he was attacking regular citizens.
I think it's worse if he's attacking
People in elected
He is
politicians. They're public servants. They need to have thicker skin.
What he is doing here, regardless of racism, is he is saying you need to agree with me or get the hell out. That's the message he's sending to his base.
And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part of it, he's wrong on. And but the part where they're lofting attacks at very American principles, not racism, but the other American principles of limited government and capitalism. If they don't like those kinds of things, I do kind of stand behind make the capitalism better, or go somewhere else. Like that part of it, I empathize with that reaction, and so it was really tough for me when I first heard it. I'm like, I don't think that's what he meant.
Like I said earlier, dissent is the most American thing there is.
Yep.
And you have the right to dissent from
so does the president.
The direction I'm trying to push the country in.
Yeah.
I have the right.
So does the president.
Does he?
Yeah, he has the right to dissent against what he thinks these four people.
I guess it comes down to that intention again.
Yeah.
Because
and
I see hate,
and
part of it is
I think he hates what they stand for, which is their character, not their skin color.
I don't know about that one. Donald Trump's been caught doing very racist things before. I mean, history's part of it. Donald Trump was sued and lost because he was intentionally keeping black people from renting his properties. That's not like something up for debate. That happened. And that's one on a laundry list. So when someone who was racist, is racist, and will always be racist, says something that could be taken as racist.
I mean, that is a good point.
Where do you think it's?
So when you have some history, you should probably be a little more kind, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest issue here, though, is, and it's not just on this topic, is how partisan we've become. And that's cliche to say, but what I mean is
it really is. Everybody's falling down, and this is where I'm trying to ride the middle, right?
Right.
And people are falling down on partisan sides of this. They're like, he's absolutely racist. He's absolutely not. And I'm like, no, he's kind of racist. We're all kind of racist. People on the other side need to thicken up a little bit. And
I think the Republican Party is, in general, they've lost the moral high ground.
They need to denounce it a little more. Maybe not this in specific, but then there are they need to take opportunities to. But
the problem here is they don't care if they're in the wrong anymore.
No,
it's just about screwing over those Democratic cucks.
So to a point, I don't entirely disagree. They've lost their way. They're not fiscal conservative. There are no fiscal conservatives anymore. And when there are, they leave the party.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to actually wrap it up.
Yeah. Yep. Because I got to go. So, thanks for the discussion, even though you're wrong. So if you out there in internet land would like to tell me how wrong I am on my take on this, or, whatever, just have a discussion about it. We have a Political Radar and Blind Partisan community. There's 2 little community groups on Facebook. You can join us there. And for sure, check out what's Mark's new show called?
The Big Picture with Mark Becker.
Okay.
It's awesome.
I don't know why that slips my mind. I want to call it the Mark Picture.
The Mark
I don't know. I have no idea. But you should check that out.
With Big Becker.
Mark did a great job. And for the first one, boy, I think he's unbeatable. I think he's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And you should drop by the patreon.com/newsmakers.
Yeah, talking about politics on the internet isn't exactly the type of thing that rolls in the bank. So if you want to make sure your favorite show, whether it be Blind Partisan or The Big Picture or anything really, if you want to make sure they can live, support us.
Yeah. And the other way you can support us is tell people about the show and share it on, share it on Facebook, like it, subscribe, do all the things. And that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks.